thought I'd do a video showing Unity 2D and how to create an explosion effect, given the fact that as it currently stands, Unity doesn't have a explosion effect for 2D objects. There's an add explosive force for 3D objects, which I've never used because I've not done any 3D programming in Unity. But in the 2 months I've been learning how to program in Unity, I came to the point where I needed an explosive force and realised that it was missing. I searched the internet. There was a few suggestions about using sprites to calculate impacts on objects, but it seemed far too complicated for what I wanted. So I went about, and this is the result. This is the solution I came to. So what I'm doing is I'm just creating a basic, just a bit of grass and a block, so I can show you the effect of my explosive method. As you can see, I haven't got the collider set up correctly. As you can see, the grass is just got a box collider on it, which I'm now adding. There we go. And the block is just a simple block made up of a square sprite, which has got another rigid. It's got a rigid body attached, a rigid body 2D attached, and a box collider 2D. And it's both. I'm applying some physics materials to the colliders. Otherwise, everything doesn't really move very realistically. To use your 2D materials, you just drag them to your collider. Add the bounciness, which not by 5 seems to be the best result. And as you'll see, it kind of looks okay. This is just the preliminary, setting up a few objects, multiplying them, so we can see the effect when we do actually create our bomb. Just copy them from the scene while the scene's still active, and that way when you paste them again, you'll find that they're already in the finished positions, and then you delete the original, so you don't have to sit through watching those blocks fall every time I press play. Okay, now I think it's time to make the actual bomb. Create an empty game object. We'll call it bomb. Oh no. No, what I've done is I'm tidying up the pile so we don't have dozens and dozens of blocks. Just put them under one game object. Now it's time to create the bomb, which I think we will call bomb. There we go. Drag the image to it, and as you see, we've just got a little bomb in the style of the Inspector Clouseau movies, which is, I think, the only true bomb shape. I suppose you can have a stick of dynamite, but I quite like circle colliders. I think they add a little bit more dynamic movement to any scene. Yeah, just roughly adding the circle collider. Doesn't have to be exact. I've added them to the actual game, the top level game object. You can't. Usually, I would add these things to the actual sprite. The bomb, the object that's actually got the sprite renderer attached, but I actually need another collider down there. So what I've done is I've attached them higher up, so I can then work with the collider which will be attached to the bomb. So here we go. I've added a little bit of concrete to the bomb. I mean, the physics material, just to give it a little bit of a bounce. And now I'm adding a script. And here I make my first mistake. I've actually added the script to the parent object, the top level game object. I actually need it on the lower one, which I'll fix later on. First of all, we'll need some variables to control our explosion. an explosion delay, which means that once we drop the bomb, we'll here I'm doing a 1 second delay, but I think we'll move it to about 5 later on. An explosion rate, which is how quickly the bomb radiates, the blast radiates. The explosion maximum size, which is the extent of, the largest extent of the bomb. Otherwise, I mean, the bomb could carry on going through the entire scene. The explosion speed, how quickly the blast radiates, and we need a boolean to just mark when the bomb has actually exploded. So first of all, in the update, we'll just reduce the explosion delay by delta time, which is the standard. I think it's the time between each frame. So basically, you get a 1 second delay will be 1 second. If explosion delay is less than 0, so we'll just say the explosion has occurred. Here, mono develop decides that I meant something other than I actually meant, which is a bit of a pain, but anyway. And then in the void fixed update, we'll actually do all the physics for the explosion. You do it in fixed update because fixed update apparently is the place where all the rigid body calculations are done. I don't think it updates every frame like update. So if it's exploded equals true. There are shortcuts you can take. I mean, I think you could have just put if exploded, but I hate that kind of coding because it's usually how I make mistakes. C sharp doesn't even requires brackets after an if statement, but I make so many mistakes that way. I'd rather put them in, and even if it makes my code look a little bit more outdated. Here, my second mistake. I'm actually declaring a collider 2D when I actually meant to declare a circle collider, but I'll fix that in a minute. This is the actual collider on the child object. It will be a trigger, it won't be an actual collider, so it won't actually affect any of the bodies that fall here. You see, this is what I've realised. I've actually not got a collider in there, so with a circle collider, this will be a trigger. It won't be like I say, it won't be an actual proper collider in the sense that it won't actually affect the objects it touches. Anyway, so I get the component. Actually, I think I move this into the start method because we only have to do it once. I normally do all my get component business in start. Make it there we go. I've still not spotted that it's meant to be a circle collider as well. We don't need to search for the game object because it's the game object that the script's attached to, so we kind of know the local game object. There we go, circle collider 2D, but it's still declared as a collider 2D at the top. Explosion radius. There we go. We can get. Oh no, we still can't. I can't. I'm wondering why I can't spot the. Why is it not giving me a radius option? You can see the mental cogs working. Why is it not working? And then I realise. There we go. So now we're going to manipulate the size of the. Come on, mono develop. Explosion radius. This is the radius of the triggered circle collider. Is going to be the size of the current radius, which we're going to increase. In fact, I think what we do is we'll put a check in first. Oh no, we're going to increase the size of the current radius by the explosion rate, and we'll put that inside a check. I think. We have to stop the circle continually exploding, otherwise you don't actually get a decent looking explosion effect. what happens is the effect is you just end up pushing all the objects as the radius increases. So there we go. Else. I destroy this game object. Actually, I'm going to destroy the parent game object, so it'll get rid of all the children as well. In other words, when the bomb goes off, after all the forces have been applied, the object will destroy itself. Give it a test, and there it's going wrong. And the reason it's going wrong is, I think, the script is attached to the wrong one. Yeah, there we go. The script's attached to the parent when it should be attached to the child object. There we go. How quickly do I spot it? I've still not spotted it. Now I've spotted it. Remove component. Add it to the child. And the object disappears once the bomb goes off. But of course it won't yet have any effect on any of the objects around it, so now we need to add the final stage. Make a little bit of room. Which is to intercept the whenever objects fall inside the trigger. So on trigger enter 2D, collision, is it? Collider 2D. I always get those the wrong way around. First of all, we need to ensure that we're only acting if it's exploded. So we need to check that, make it the same condition as if exploded equals true. So let's copy paste. So if it's exploded, we now apply the forces. We're now addressing the collider object, so we're going to get the rigid body of the object we've collided with or has triggered this collision, this trigger event. Just got to make sure that it does actually exist, because a few of the objects we will collide with won't have rigid bodies attached, so we don't apply any forces to those. So if its rigid body exists, in other words, if it's not null, we then apply the forces. We need two vector 2's, the location of the target, actually the object which needs to be moved, and the actual bomb. We then have a direction, which is another vector 2, which we subtract one from the other, which will give us the direction of the force. Again, I normally get these the wrong way around, and I think I've got them the wrong way around again, but we'll see the results of that in a minute. So we now need to apply this direction onto that rigid body. So game object, rigid body, add force. We put the direction onto that, and that is everything finished, except at this point nothing happened, and I spent 10 minutes trying to figure out why nothing happened. And the reason was actually everything was working, it's just the actual force isn't strong enough to actually move the blocks. So what I've done is I've removed the 10 minutes as I sat there fiddling with it. I'm fixing the explosion delay, so it's actually going to be 5 seconds now. So now it counts down properly, and now we're going to the code. We'll address the problem, which is the direction there. The bomb, we need to multiply it by 10. Or any number, in fact. I mean, we're just trying to establish what kind of magnitude of number we need to produce a convincing explosive force. 10 actually has a result, but as you see, everything moves together, which means I've got bomb and target the wrong way around. And it also wasn't particularly powerful, so we'll boost that up to 40. Doesn't look bad. Get in there. Now it's a matter of just adjusting all our values and yeah, make a few more blocks so we can actually see the effect of our explosion as we tinker with the variables. Yeah, it's a little bit too slow, too weak. So what we'll do is we'll increase the explosion speed. I think we will. Yeah. But I changed my mind about changing that, so we just see the effect of the speed before we change that. A little bit better. I mean, you can have totally different types of explosions. Some of them can be extremely fast and violent, and others can be slow and a bit laborious, like this one. I think it depends on the kind of game you're playing. This will make a big difference. 140. There we go. That's more like it. I've just removed the replay. Ensured that the bomb now is going to disappear when it explodes. At that point, I would actually normally add some smoke and fire effects. Also add a sound effect, make it go bang. Yeah, make it even faster and make it a little bit larger. And let's add a load more of these. Bigger landscape, bigger camera. I'm quite surprised actually that this actually worked quite well on tablets and phones. I didn't expect to be able to have rigid bodies exploding on my little mobile, but it works pretty well. I don't know if it's the most convincing explosion effect, but it's what I wanted for my game. Still a little bit faster, but a little bit. It'll explode more quickly, but it'll explode less powerfully. Yeah, there you go. You can see the effect of the wave kind of moving out a little bit more. You can actually adjust the actual directions of the explosion as well, just by changing what you send to add for. So in here, I'm going to split the explosion between its x and y values, but I'm going to make the y value more powerful and the x value less powerful, so you have more of a mortar effect. So there's more power going vertically in the explosion and less horizontal. But again, you can tinker with the values as much as you like. And here you'll get more of a vertical explosion and less of a horizontal. There you go. Which I think is where I ended it. Hope this was helpful. It took me a long time to figure out how to get around the missing explosion 2D control. Good luck using it. Thanks.